It is Friday, March 12th, 2021. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was yet another non-virtual Get Your Ass Kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Friday, although I did not actually go into class or session today. I'm still recovering from the old ringworm and just taking the precaution, making sure that it's 100% cured up and it's not going to get smeared all over the fucking place for other people to roll into. But it's still invading on my fucking training, so it's not making me happy. Anyway, I imagine that in the not so distant future I'll be back to complaining about how I'm having trouble getting myself back onto the mat and sparring with people again. And I think that's what pisses me off the most about it, is that, you know, I've had these like, I don't know if it's confidence or whatever issues, where I'm just like practically running out the fucking door to get out of there. And you know, I've finally started to break down through that and started to get it to where, you know, I was able to keep myself there for at least one roll, right? You know, at least one, perhaps two if it was available. And also going to additional classes. I was going to a session with wrestlers, and I'm almost thinking that's where I picked this ringworm business up, because it kind of like lines up chronologically. Anyway, besides all that, so yeah, I started to do that because I was trying to address my stand-up. You know, I had done a drill with somebody where we were doing takedowns, and I was having the hardest time trying to figure an approach to take this person down. And it dawned on me, and he even said something. He's like, you kept reaching for a gi. You know, you kept reaching for sleeves or lapels or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I trained in a gi for 3 years, so yeah, it's kind of still there, you know. Anyway, so yeah, there's just that tendency to want to grip the clothing. You know, I mean, like I said, it's what I've been trained to do, you know, and so I didn't understand how much of my takedown game really depended on the presence of the gi, you know, because I'm not a particularly fast person. I've got some explosive movement, but I'm not really sneaky. So, you know, getting that explosive movement to happen like right at the right time is always like a challenge for me. And so, you know, like I said, I liked having the gi there because it gave me stuff to grab onto. I could control the pace of things, you know, and it also helped me stay up too, you know, because if I grab a hold of you and you're not taking yourself down to take me down, it's that much more difficult to try and get me off of my feet. But anyway, so yeah, you know, I just discovered that I had like no stand-up game whatsoever when it came to taking down, and so much of it was dependent on the gi. So I trained with these guys that are wrestling, you know, or wrestlers, because of course they have no gis, but they do have takedowns, and it's a really big part of their game. So it was a logical choice, but, you know, like I said, I started to expand out from where I've been kind of trapped, and really trying to push the level of my game up. And so, you know, to have this kind of setback at this time, it's especially disappointing. But anyway, I imagine that by next week I had to be good by next week. You know, it's clearing up pretty good, and I've been treating it with hydrogen peroxide and rubbing alcohol and this other skin ointment stuff, and it seems to be clearing up, like I said. So hopefully Monday I'll be able to get into the training sessions again. It's funny, I actually feel a little bit lighter. Although I got a teeny tiny bit of tub, but, you know, I'm sure if I were to get on the scale right now, I'd be around like somewhere between 216 and 219. And, you know, I've been trying to work out, do additional workouts and stuff just to keep losing weight, or at least to try and keep level. And I've been okay about it. You know, I trained last night. Or I trained yesterday and last night, and it was funny because, you know, I didn't even change out of my gear until, you know, like 3 in the morning when I finally stopped training. And so, you know, I've been getting some mat time, even though it's just my mat and it's just me, you know. But just trying to get in whatever workout I can, you know. And yeah. You know, time to get into some music. But, you know, we've been starting it off with body count, and I think that's appropriate. Kind of feeling it a little bit today. But what song? You know, it's always a challenge. Here we go. 99 Problems by Body Count. First Dance. Here on Coin Metal. And that was Infectious Grooves with Do the Sinister. And so, let me knock back that volume just a teeny tiny. Make myself audible again. Anyway, as far as what we're going to get into today, I got a plethora of tabs that we can go through. But, you know, there's this subject, and I've been dancing around it and talking about it on the show quite frequently, maybe a little bit too much, but the idea of competition for Ethereum, for hosting all these NFTs and all this DeFi business, it seems to be starting to happen. But I got this thing here, it's on CoinDesk. This is just what I wanted to start off with. Bitcoin not a long-term allocation, says Man Group CEO. And this is by Jamie Crawley, and it was authored March 12th, 2021 at 7:51 a.m. PST. Luke Ellis, CEO of UK hedge fund Man Group, sees Bitcoin as a trading instrument rather than a long-term asset allocation. Appearing on CNBC's Squawk Box on Friday, Ellis revealed that he had, quote, dabbled in Bitcoin, but sees himself as a trader rather than a hodler. Quote, I see it as a trading instrument, so we trade around it and try to provide some liquidity into the market, he told CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin. Ellis also said that he did not think it was necessary for companies to hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet, describing this as, quote, confusing, considering the business use case relative to the inherent speculation. Quote, I see it as a trading instrument, not a thing that you think of as a long-term asset allocation play, says Man Group's Luke Ellis on Bitcoin. It's confusing what the business is relative to speculation. I don't think companies are supposed to speculate with cash balances. Yeah, this is too fucking bad. Large companies such as Tesla and MicroStrategy have disclosed large treasury investments in Bitcoin in recent months. Man Group is a London-based hedge fund managing around $123.6 billion for its mostly institutional clients. Yeah, dude, I think you're poorly advising your clients and probably misallocating their capital as well. You should be in crypto to some extent. Anyway, this next thing I got on news.bitcoin.com. Ethereum Ethereum's Buterin highlights Layer 2 rollups as potential scaling solution. And this is by Ruben Jackson. It's authored approximately 2 hours ago. As questions circle about the network's capacities following surging transaction costs and accelerating activity in the decentralized finance arena, Ethereum's founder Vitalik Buterin opines that Layer 2 solutions could help the network scale by a factor of 100x in mere months to meet growing demand. Ethereum has passed many milestones over the last 12 months and can be credited as the protocol responsible for popularizing the DeFi revolution thanks to its smart contract capabilities. Yet, as demand for the network service concurrently spiked, it created new headaches for users, as surging gas costs made it much more expensive to transact. These developments have coincided with ongoing Ethereum 2 rollout, which effectively upgrades the original infrastructure to support better performance through improved scalability, increased efficiency, and higher transaction throughput. However, recent activity has clogged network performance, sparking debates about the best methods to fix these problems. Yeah, I could tell you one. Eliminate the gas limit. In a recent interview on the Tim Ferriss Show with Naval Ravikant, Vitalik Buterin, Ethereum's 27-year-old co-founder, discussed how one answer to this congestion lies in Layer 2 scaling solutions that could be implemented in a matter of months. According to Buterin, rollups such as ZKS, that's zero knowledge script or signatures maybe? I don't know. Might play a key role in reducing network costs and amplifying performance. Unlike a traditional Ethereum transaction, which would require the network to confirm the transaction, Layer 2 rollups effectively allow a sidechain to record and validate all transactions before, quote, rolling them up in a single transaction. That single transaction then needs to be approved by the main chain, in this case Ethereum. In stark contrast to existing confirmation times, rollups can provide instant confirmation, circumventing the congestion that has plagued the Ethereum network for months. I'd like to know how that's possible. I mean, at the least, you would think that it would wait the confirmation time for the block itself. I don't know. Circumventing the congestion, blah blah blah. Buterin believes that Layer 2 scaling solution can deliver 100-fold scalability within months. When combined with Layer 1 scaling solutions like sharding, which are also set to come to the net. Sharding isn't on the network yet? Jesus Christ. That figure rises to 1000x. Moreover, sidechains can address the high transaction fees that have angered users, adding affordability that is already being leveraged by new DeFi applications eager to expand their footprint. Decentralized exchanges and DeFi protocols like Uniswap have been the unfortunate casualties of Ethereum's congestion due to their Layer 1 construction. To address this shortcoming, ZK Swaps, ZK Rollups, an automated market maker, AMM, Layer 2 based token swap protocol, has developed a sidechain rollup to overcome the issue. This rollup can support DeFi, but without the high gas fees that have hounded DeFi participants. Buterin believes that this rollup may be the answer needed to achieve the 100x scalability he mentioned, and the solution has already delivered demonstrable results. According to a tweet from March 10th that focused on the Layer 2 DEX competition, ZK Swap currently holds the top swap among other similar solutions, recording over $66 million in 24-hour trading volume. Total value locked in the DEX, decentralized exchange numbers, is presently over 813 million at the time of writing. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Here's the problem. It's based on I'm assuming here, and hopefully we'll be able to find some sort of actual documentation that can shed a little bit more light on this. Because the thing is about this is that if you are doing one of these quote-unquote roll-ups, there is the matter of custody. And if you're transacting with other people, if you're involving other people in the transactions and you're involving their money in those transactions, the security of your quote-unquote side chain is your responsibility. You're, in fact, the fiducie of all this activity. You're as the initiator of the transaction. So yeah, I can see some liability issues here, and some potential for some regulatory issues. You know, because it's the nature of the market that you're providing. If you're at all responsible of anybody else's funds at any time, there's a possibility that it could be called on you to get an MSB license. And if you're trading with anybody in New York, or you're involving their funds, that's something where you probably need to sign up for a bit license. And you know, in Ethereum, they've kind of ignored all this because they provide their own kind of context with, oh, everything is gas. You know, and the problem with all of that is that we've been going by the, how should I say it, the laxity of regulators. You know, the thing is that when we're putting our projects out there, it's very, very important to maintain a distance from existing regulatory terminology. Now, of course, they try and go back over it with the rearview mirror and say, oh, you know, that the Howey test applies to that, and so the SEC regulates it, and it's security. You know, it doesn't matter that what it actually is. They just, you know, that's it. You know, the SEC says, oh, it doesn't pass the Howey test. It's a security. And so the problem that you face in this space at all is that it's not just the SEC, it's not just the United States that does this shit, where they'll go back over it and they'll be like, oh, by the way, this project that you're doing over here, that applies under some regulation that they'll rattle off, and you're back to square one because you're suddenly having to get licensed with these guys because otherwise they're going to sue you. And personally, I think that should be illegal because, I mean, they can apply their definition to anything and have some sort of case against you in court, or at least imagine that they have some case against you in court or some reason to take you to court. But yeah, decentralized exchanges, if you're taking custody of funds at any time, you can expect that sometime in the future they will chase after you. And trying to hang out under Ethereum's blanket, and say, oh, we're all good because this is a ZKS transaction and it's all regulated according to the governance of Ethereum's network, and so yeah, we're already covered. That's not going to get you any kind of leniency from them. If you're performing what is functionally something that they actually do regulate, like if it does interact with any kind of US dollars, by default, you're going to fall under all of the fucking regulatory morass there. Alright? But that's an example of where you try and stay out of the regulated realms. And that's pretty much what you can consider them, is like a autonomous zone that's within the economy, but it's not actually autonomous. It's not something that you or I regulate. It's something that is it's like the Federal Reserve's little fiefdom, or the central bank's little fiefdom. That they regulate that shit. And you don't need to actually interact with US dollars to do anything in crypto. And that's one of the things that makes it kind of dangerous, is that it can operate entirely outside of our regulated markets. And it's something that crypto isn't given enough credit for. Where that guy was talking about, oh, I don't have any Bitcoin because, I think it's just some speculative asset. He's not considering it according to the terms of what it actually is. Its contexts outside of finance, what it facilitates. It's not just speculative. It's not just a quote-unquote share. It is quote-unquote money that has its own network and does not require any interface with the banks or government. And these people are really, really eager for you to forget these contexts. And it's one of the reasons why they don't speak about Bitcoin in these contexts. Because they would rather you just forget about it. But the problem is, if you forget about it, all of this doesn't have any real value. Like Bitcoin, give you a good example, Bitcoin. If Bitcoin were to fall under the sole control of governments or a corporate entity that was regulated and was running the network according to the full legal framework provided by the U.S. government and other governments, it would suddenly lose all utility for the vast majority of the people that are participating in this. Because those same entities that tell you no, you can't have a bank account are telling you no, you can't have a Bitcoin wallet. No, you can't do second layer bullshit. You don't have a license. And so the whole regulatory morass that kept you out of legacy markets now keeps you out of at least Bitcoin. And this is one of the reasons why these, and it's how you can tell who your real enemies are. Your real enemies talk shit about altcoins. Why? Because they don't want you to have a choice in this matter. They just want you to get corralled into the Bitcoin thing and then trapped there. Like a fucking roach motel. And you can only transact it on a quote-unquote like side chain or fucking lightning network payment channel that is run by them. You give them your Bitcoin and they allow you to spend it on what they want to allow you to spend it on, with who they want to allow you to spend it with. So you can forget about doing any kind of back alley deals with people. You can forget about any kind of private OTC peer-to-peer shit. Forget all that. Now you are in a fully permissioned, fully taxed, fully permitted, fully licensed, and regulated market. Again. You know, and Ethereum isn't like immune to this effect. It's one of the reasons why I suggest they should get rid of the gas limit, because overall it would draw fees. Because the miners wouldn't give a shit then. Because it's like, you know, if I'm doing 3,000 transactions in this block, or if I'm doing 10,000 transactions in this block, it doesn't matter. It's just a bigger block. And you know, something like that would be something to fear in a market where the internet hasn't been actually expanding, its capacity hasn't been improving, it hasn't been becoming more efficient and capable of transmitting higher bandwidths worth of data. Actually, that's been happening this whole time. You know, and so when we're setting our expectations for performance on yesterday's performance capabilities of the internet, we're always going to find that we're disappointed in that we were being pessimistic, and that the capabilities of the internet have actually expanded beyond our expectations. And so this idea that we're going to clog the entire internet with transmitting blocks of fucking transactions, it's a bunch of bullshit. Bunch of bullshit. Now, I've tried to say this to you guys, I've tried to convince you guys many, many times of this, and I will continue to try and convince you of it, because it does seem like my assertion that I've been making since like 2015, that mining is the single biggest driver of hardware innovation on this planet right now. It's because of the direct monetization of efficiency. That is starting to become commonly accepted. I have made that argument to enough muckety mucks that know what the fuck they're talking about and actually understood what I was saying. You know, it's gone in enough ears that when I say that to people on Twitter, they're like, oh yeah, you know, I heard that from so-and-so. You know, it's become commonly accepted. And it's because it's true. You think about it a moment and you're like, you know what? Hardware has gotten a lot faster. It has gotten a lot more efficient. Man, my phone has gotten so much smaller, you know? Well, actually, no, it's gotten bigger, but the capabilities of it have expanded greatly. It takes way better video, way better pictures than it ever did. Games are way faster on it. I can trade more on it. I can do all that shit at once on it, and not even feel it when I'm making a phone call or video call or whatever on my phone. And why is that? It's because every 6 to 12 months, those miners are overturning hardware. And when they're doing that, they're buying more efficient, better hardware each time. And more of it. And that causes manufacturers to look around and say, well, you know, we can make even faster stuff for you if you want. And of course, the miners are happy to have even faster stuff, even better stuff. And the more of that they buy, the cheaper it becomes for the rest of us. Because, you know, these fabs, they don't just make mining chips. They don't just make ASIC chips. If it's a 7 nanometer fab, they make anything that is spec'd to a 7 nanometer scale. And so that includes CPUs, that includes RAM, that includes MOBOs, that includes everything that is down to a 7 nanometer spec. And the more they make, the cheaper each unit gets. And that's been the effect that has been driving the size of your fucking laptops, the size of your CPU, and all that stuff. All of it. it's been getting far more efficient and far more powerful because of miners and their demand for hardware. So, all this scaling bullshit, you could get rid of all of it. You can get rid of all the necessity for it, and the networks will handle it, and where they don't, somebody will see an advantage of building there and servicing that network or servicing that area, and they will invest in improving it. I brought it up as an example 1,000,000 times on this show already, and I'll probably do it 1,000,000 times more. But China, everybody bitches about all the mining that's going on in China and Mongolia, Singapore, Hong Kong, all that. Hey, people that are bitching about all that mining happening over there, what they don't understand is that before that mining came along, the little villages and shit that it started happening in, they had landlines. They hardly had cellular service out to any of them. Those miners came along, they expanded the internet access out to those itty bitty villages because they needed the fucking bandwidth, and it was affordable to do. So they did it. And now that village that didn't have but fucking landlines and a couple cell phones here and there now has full fucking high-speed internet access. And it was because it was worth it to the miners to provide it. Well, that effect is going to happen everywhere. You're going to have some itty-bitty town out in the middle of fucking Ohio, happens to be right next to a hydroelectric facility, and maybe a town next door to that. Well, the town next door to that, it's within the electricity, district or whatever, but maybe it has poor access to internet. Maybe it's behind a mountain or something like that. Somebody will set up in that itty-bitty town that still has access to the cheap electricity, and they will improve the internet access to that place that's hidden by a bunch of mountains because it is suddenly worth it to do so. There's enough incentive to do so. There's maybe not a whole bunch of regulatory morass to jump over and through. But that effect, again, it will drag some developer out there in the middle of the sticks, and he'll want his T1 line, and of course he'll get it because his employer is willing to provide it. Well, that just means that his employer's going to have to expand the fiber optic cable that goes out to that town or that vicinity. He's going to have to run it out to that town, maybe cut a mile or two of trench. But they're going to have higher internet access, higher speed, higher bandwidth to that itty bitty town because of mining. Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down with some music. And I haven't played any fucking Steel Panther tonight. And we need to rectify that. So here it is. Let's Get High Tonight by Steel Panther here on Coin Metal. And that was Talk Shit, Get Shot by Body Count. And so, let me get a sip of this water. Trying to clear it up a little bit. As far as what else we're going to get into today, I wanted to kind of continue on with the same thrust of what we were discussing previously. And I saw this one, and it really got me going on what my initial comments were concerning today's episode. And this one's on Cointelegraph.com. It's by Antonio Madeira. and it was authored on March 11th, 2021. Too little, too late. Ethereum losing DeFi ground to rival blockchains. Oh, yes, penis. 2021 has been a great year for Bitcoin and crypto in general. However, Ethereum and the decentralized finance or DeFi sector have outshined other niches of the cryptocurrency space, dazzling the community with enormous growth in terms of popularity, engagement, and sheer volume, with the total value locked currently sitting at around $56 billion, according to DApp Radar, and this person does not know how to use a period. The non-fungible token or NFT space is also seeing unprecedented growth. Many believe 2021 is shaping up to be the year of NFTs. However, DeFi continues to thrive, especially on the Ethereum blockchain, where developer and user activity surpasses that of any other blockchain. However, it's no secret that Ethereum is currently at a decisive point. Congestion and high gas fees are plaguing the network and making decentralized exchanges or DEXs almost impossible to afford for common users who want to make small to medium-sized trades. Even simple transactions can cost more than $10. Banks aren't so jealous anymore. On March 3rd, SushiSwap, the popular Uniswap fork, known for its contentious inception through a vampire mining attack, although I'm not entirely sure what that is, announced that the DEX had added multiple Ethereum alternatives to its platform, deploying contracts on XDay, Moonbeam, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, previously called Matic, and Phantom. SushiSwap has received a lot of negative criticism from the community and even from Hayden Adams, founder of Uniswap, who has expressed little appreciation for the fork and even less for the conduct of its pseudonymous founder, Chef Nami, who exited the project early on with a pocketful of tokens, only to return them soon after. In a recent Twitter thread, Adams stated, quote, "I've seen lots of comments about Sushi being a high-quality dev team building a differentiated product. While I really wish this was true, I've seen no evidence of this whatsoever to date. Just liquidity mining and marketing so far." Nevertheless, the project has seen major success, being the second biggest DEX in terms of volume, according to Dune Analytics. Now, SushiSwap is providing users with new alternatives to Ethereum and allowing them to move away from the huge gas fees that have recently become a norm, even if reluctantly so. It's not just SushiSwap. It seems that projects are generally looking for alternatives, even though they don't intend to fully give up on Ethereum. While these are not, quote, moving away from Ethereum, they are adding multiple alternatives to their platforms, which will be a major game changer for some of these blockchains, especially Binance Smart Chain, which seems to be the most popular choice. Balancer recently announced it will be deploying ports to Moonbeam and Polkadot. Furthermore, exchange aggregator 1inch recently added support for Binance Smart Chain. Users can change networks with a simple click of a button and enjoy lower fees and faster transaction times. Although 1inch has added support for BSC, the team doesn't seem to be moving away from Ethereum anytime soon. Serge Koons, co-founder of 1inch, told Cointelegraph, quote, "We don't plan to move completely away from Ethereum. Our expansion to BSC is just an add-on, as we've gotten a lot of requests from the 1inch community because there's a lot of money and activity on BSC. Everybody want to make money. Projects haven't removed Ethereum as the main option for their platforms, and while Binance has been standing out amongst the rest, Iya Abugov, an advisor at DappRadar, an aggregator of decentralized application statistics, believes that the future will hold a multitude of options for DeFi users. He told Cointelegraph, quote, "This is an indication that the multi-chain future is much more likely. BSC projects have achieved significant enough TVL where it makes sense for new projects to consider BSC as a viable ecosystem. Binance is certainly the most popular alternative at the moment. Recently, DappRadar also added support for Binance Smart Chain in its portfolio tool, but there are other projects that are growing and becoming viable alternatives, and these may begin to gain more traction as time passes," Abugov continued. Quote, "There's also Polkadot, Flow, and a number of others that are showing viable ecosystems. Before, projects were almost forced to build on Ethereum. Now they have an actual choice. As bridges become more developed, this trend should become stronger." Layer 2 options are also gaining traction. While Ethereum alternatives like BSC and others are becoming popular, Layer 2 options are also being integrated at lightning speed. SushiSwap Chief Technology Officer Joseph DeLong noted that the decentralized exchange is planning additional future deployments, including onto Optimism, whatever Optimism is. SushiSwap would be just one of the latest to do so. Other projects such as Synthetics, a decentralized derivatives trading platform, are also experimenting with Layer 2 options, the most popular of which seems to be Optimism. Kane Warwick, founder of Synthetics, told Cointelegraph, quote, "Every project currently on Ethereum will need to adopt a Layer 2 solution. There are fast-moving teams right now that have considerable treasuries and highly skilled engineers, and allowing more users to interact with a protocol is a huge incentive to move quickly into scaling solutions." I don't think so. I think this option will turn out to be more for speculation ends than anything, but that's just me. Ethereum 2.0, restore trust, or will it be too late? While Ethereum is currently facing scalability issues and becoming very hard to use, Ethereum 2.0 is currently in development, and its staking and sharding features will allow the experience to return to normal for the common user and improve on many other aspects. Not only will the network be able to handle more transactions without congestion, which results in lower fees, but staking will also improve on the wasteful proof-of-work model that requires miners to burn electricity to validate the network. Actually, they do more than that, but yeah, whatever. Moreover, the current issues experienced in Ethereum are opening doors for others to become popular alternatives. This means that Ethereum 2 might not be enough to regain Ethereum's previous market share, according to Abugov. Quote, "ETH 2.0 is significantly far away that competing blockchains can establish their own ecosystems. When Ethereum 2.0 launches, it will likely be just one of the options for project teams." While projects are now exploring other options, Ethereum's network effect is still standing strong. Developers seem to be moving away from the blockchain, but they appear willing to look for additional options that can give Ethereum 2.0 developers more time to perfect the upcoming launch and present users with new exciting options for DeFi interaction. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I think the whole idea of the transition over to proof of stake is just bullshit. I don't really see it happening. And again, that's just me. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but not very often. And just to give you an idea, I went to this guy's Twitter, Josh Stark, and I tweeted to him this: got a question for you. If I have an ASIC mining Ethereum, how is it going to turn to proof of stake? See, that's the big magic trick here. I mean, are you just going to quit listening to the proof of work network or something, or what? And I don't see the rest of the world going along with that idea, specifically not the fucking proof of work network. I think if at the best, you're going to end up seeing another fucking coin split. Only this time the miners are going to be fucking AWS instances. They aren't going to be actual miners. If there are actual miners, it'll be like some teeny percentage of the network. While the proof of work miners have gone on to support other projects. Projects that don't mind having proof of work miners. So you're not going to get rid of proof of work. It's lasted 11 years, and it's lasted that long for a reason. It's because it fucking works. And as long as it continues to work, and continues to be as secure as it actually is, we're not going to have the issues that necessitate transitioning over to proof of stake. Anyway, continuing on. This one is also on Cointelegraph, and it's by Samuel Hague. And this one was authored again March 12, 2021. ETH2 transition accelerates amid rumblings of a minor rebellion. And, penis. Ethereum's developers appear to be hastening the network's shift towards proof-of-stake consensus and away from the proof-of-work mining community. On March 11th, developer Mikhail Kalinin published specifications for ETH2's future blockchain merge with the existing Ethereum network. The documentation notes the consensus upgrade from POS to POW will be the core change enacted. Or what? It's the other way around, you dipshits. From proof of work to POS. Let's see, Josh Stark, the guy that I tweeted to, says 5 million of people rely on this business network. They need to be convinced that the new buses are reliable and safe. Then the community needs to swap out one fleet for the other all at once. And we have mentioned no one has ever done this before. 6. This is actually called the merge, when the existing Ethereum network will swap over to using Beacon Chain instead of proof of work. There's a growing consensus that the merge ought to be prioritized as the next step. The publication of specs comes as tensions between Ethereum miners and developers ramp up. Miners stand to lose significant revenue with the transition to proof of stake, while Ethereum's developers are keen to ameliorate the persistently high fees and congestion on Ethereum. Last week, Cointelegraph reported that Ethereum's core developers had scheduled to implement Ethereum Improvement Proposal 1559 in July, which will replace Ethereum's existing fee market with a flat price and burn mechanism. While the proposal is expected to discipline Ethereum's surging fees, 1559 could reduce miner revenue by as much as 50%. As such, some miners responded to the news by planning a, quote, show of force, advocating for Ethereum's miners to redirect their hash power to the 1559 opposed mining pool, Ethermine, for 51 hours on April 1st. However, the core developers appear to have been prepared for the miner backlash. Last month, Ethereum co-creator Vitalik Buterin said on Chinese social media reposted by Wu Blockchain that if miners threaten a 51% attack, quote, we will all move to POS as soon as possible. How are you going to do that, dude? Where's your fucking POS network? Oh, yeah, right. It doesn't really exist. Developers also paired EIP 1559 with a delay to the difficulty bomb in July's London upgrade to make a hard fork less likely. And as Redditor Always pointed out in a Reddit posting arguing for the merge to be prioritized, quote, having the merge at the ready provides a fallback for the community should a cartel of miners collude to neutralize the positive effects of 1559. Earlier this week, Buterin revealed that ETH2's developers have been prioritizing the chain merge over implementing sharding, with his comments on Chinese social media suggesting the focus on merging may be motivated by a desire to minimize the potential impacts of resistance from miners. Buterin also noted that second layer scaling solutions will launch in the coming months, predicting that Optimism's rollups will facilitate an increase in transactional throughput by a factor of 100. Buterin asserted that Layer 2 solutions will sufficiently scale Ethereum until sharding is implemented. Yeah, you're not going to get your fucking POS transition. Like, basically, the way I see it, the only way that they could actually do it would be to start their beacon chain and be like running it on AWS, and then have the exchanges relying solely on the beacon chain instead of the proof of work network for their signal, and just like disregard the Ethereum network like it doesn't exist. But here's the thing, and what these monkeys are not paying attention to. As long as that network is live, the chances that people will be abandoning it is pretty low. Meaning that there are a lot of ICO projects and such that are built on top of Ethereum that aren't just going to go away or aren't going to just transfer over to the beacon chain without some sort of technical change. And they might not be motivated to make that change. They might just say, fuck Vitalik. We're going to stay on the proof of work chain, and fuck you and your beacon nodes and all that other bullshit. We don't care that it exists. We're not going to proof of stake. You can bite our ass. Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to check and see if there's any resistance on this. Let's see. Oh man, these people are so stupid. Blah 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 blah. Fucking pathetic. People, you know, so many of the people that are in this space have absolutely no idea why any of this shit exists, why we're doing any of this, what the advantages of doing it are. They just don't know. They don't understand. It's really sad to me. And just to give you an example, we're going to go ahead and read some of this, because this is the proposal that the merge should be prioritized over data sharing. Some background, and this is by Always Question. The roadmap for Ethereum has evolved over the years. Yeah, in other words, they've been redrawing the fucking map the entire time. Not too long ago, Ethereum 2 was divided into phases, roughly as follows. Phase 0, staking on the beacon chain, completed, happens today, and that was 7 days ago. Phase 1, data sharding. Phase 1.5, the merge. Phase 2, 2BD. This phase was the most nebulous. Basically, there could be further improvements made to Ethereum. These phases need not happen chronologically. In recent months, Vitalik, Danny R., and others have clarified that phases 1 and 1.5 need not occur in that order. In other words, the merge could be prioritized and implemented before data sharding. I urge the community to prioritize the merge over data sharding for at least the following reasons. 1. Rollup tech buys us time. Both optimistic rollups and ZK rollups are now coming online. These have the ability to scale Ethereum from less than 10 transactions per second to over 1,000 transactions per second. We gain at least 2 orders of magnitude of scaling with rollups. Once major dApps such as Uniswap migrate to L2, it is happening, then fee pressure on L1 will be greatly alleviated. And it is all happening in the short term, over the course of the next few months. I estimate that this will provide at least 1 to 2 years before data sharding is needed to further scale Ethereum to 100,000 per transactions per second. Having the merge at the ready to fall back, it provides a fallback for the community should a cartel of miners collude to neutralize the positive effects of EIP 1559. There are some within the mining community who have threatened to form a group of miners who essentially prevent some aspects of EIP 1559 from having their intended effect. While I believe it would be difficult or impossible for this group of miners to pull this off, there is a small chance that they might be successful. The community would rightly interpret such an action to be an attack on the network. Bullshit! They're trying to characterize the miners staying on the network and continuing to mine as a proof of work network as an attack on the network. It's fucking ridiculous. Let's see, the mere fact that the merge is prioritized before data sharding might be enough to ward off such an attack, like a sword of Damocles, given that the merge is the final separation of proof-of-work miners from the network. This would further incentivize the mining community not to attempt to subvert the network. The merge brings immediately liquidity to POS stakers who have tied up their Ethereum. The merge is technically less complex than data sharding, albeit still with significant implications to the network, i.e. it might crash your fucking ICO. It shouldn't be rushed, but it also should not be delayed. Careful development with multiple testnets are obviously called for. Overall, it is better to implement the technically less complex option, having more immediate benefits to the community, and then shift community attention to the technically more challenging data sharding effort. This guy's a fucking idiot. And so let's go to some of the responses, because I feel like these guys are probably in an echo chamber, meaning that the only people that are talking on it are the people that the admin for this Reddit or this subreddit is allowing to be here. In other words, if they're seeing the praises of proof of stake Ethereum, or Ethereum 2.0 rather, then they'll let them stay. But if they're bringing up questions or something like that, something pesky, they delete them. But let's get into this. Dr. or DJ RTWO, Ethereum Foundation, Danny Ryan, I generally agree. V. Buterin, me too. Top Woodpecker 7267 says, hell yes. Sharding is cool and all, but the narrative when ETH switches to POS will echo throughout the entire crypto community. Every article about Bitcoin's insane energy consumption will have people mentioning, that's why Ethereum went to proof of stake. Yeah, that's probably why it's never going to happen. And Swagatimus Prime says, and it's not just about the narrative, it's simply the correct thing to do. Proof of work is just massively wasteful and damages the environment. It's completely unsustainable, and proof of stake is 100% the correct way to address this. Yeah, you're full of shit. Let's see. Electric Seathor? I can't even pronounce that anyway. While I do agree that POS is the way to move, labeling mining and damaging to the environment as wasteful is an overgeneralization. I do know a good number of mining farms that run on renewables. So yeah, fuck your narrative. Swagatimus says, yes, but the vast majority doesn't run on renewables, and it is wasteful when you achieve the same security under a proof of stake with a minuscule fraction of the energy consumption. Okay, hold on right there, pal. There are some proof of stake systems that are out there right now, but just to be clear here, we had a phase where proof of stake networks were coming out, and that proof of stake coins were getting popular. And the vast majority of them are dead now. Because no, proof of stake does not provide the same incentive structure to not fucking gank it and not manipulate it via the staking that proof of work does. Anyway, continuing on. Outside Seth says, at least where I live, our electricity is only inexpensive enough for mining to be profitable because it is 80% from renewable sources. Yeah, so go fuck yourself. Let's see. Carla Silva says, it's not super horrible, but I would much rather see that energy to be spent on actually productive endeavors. Oh, you mean like motivating fucking computer manufacturers to make more efficient, more powerful computers? Because that's what mining does, fucking asshat. Bad Investment says, yeah, but the vast majority doesn't run on renewables, or he's replying to that. I'm not so sure about that. From what I hear, Chinese miners use hydroelectric. No source, though. Yeah, they do. They have a preponderance of hydroelectric facilities in China. Let's see. Scientists says, LMAO, the Inner Mongolian farms are running on coal and an absolute environmental disaster. Soon the proof of work madness stops the better. Dude, you're full of shit. Fuck you. You're full of shit. I mean, I want to quantify it better than saying you're full of shit, because it sounds like an ad hom attack. But this person literally does not know what they are talking about. Electric Hather says, Let's put my cousin's example. He has a solar system for his house, and instead of selling the excess to the government power, he uses it for mining. Is that still wasteful? Swagatimus Prime says, considering that he'd only have to use a fraction of that energy under POS, yes, that's still wasteful. Fuck you! Electric Horror says, but since there's no full-fledged POS now, is it still a waste? Not trying to argue, just trying to understand. The mining is wasteful argument. It doesn't make any sense because it's a bullshit argument. Fart Cloud Penis says, well, think of it this way. If the merge happens a year or so sooner, then there's a certain amount of megajoules of energy that will not be consumed. This could be utilized elsewhere. And that's bullshit too. If there's a motivation, if there is an incentive to mine at all, to maintain the network at all, there will be competition for it. That's the whole point of the way these networks operate. Continuing, Swagatimus Prime, I would say that mining is wasteful in terms of energy, but obviously nothing can be done about it yet. We rely on mining for security, so we can somewhat justify it. We need to wait for the merge to switch to POS. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Junie says, depends what's the opportunity cost. What other things are being powered by non-renewables, because he's using renewable energy to mine. Basically, we have two ways to address fucking climate change. Give me a fucking break. Let's see here. I'm just scrolling down to see if there's anybody who actually has the slightest fucking clue what they're talking about. Let's see here. Say Ethereum moves to proof of stake. If there's a way for other consumers to use this excess power, then usually just people are applying to that one. Let's see. I read that 74% of BTC mining runs on renewables. Is that information false? If so, other credible sources. Yeah, actually, it is true. This is another fucking idiot right here. I got Tigers 8811 says, it's not just electricity. Proof of work generates a massive amount of e-waste from all the hardware it uses. That's bullshit. Most of the hardware goes to live on in gamers' PCs and other projects, so that one I can't really get behind. Still, there's GPUs from 4 to 5 years ago mining that were sold during the last crash used in gaming. Yeah. Mosing says, higher demand forces more GPU production after they are not used for mining. Some gamers buy those used GPUs, but regular people will still buy new. The reason GPU manufacturer stocks went up a lot in the past couple of years. It's true. But you know what? They're not throwing out those cards, the older cards. They're making one either a transition into gaming or transition to mining. And it all depends on how profitable it is to mine. The more profitable it is to mine, the more chances that video card is going to be dedicated to mining. Continuing on. Mosing says energy consumption is one thing, equipment is another. Proof of work necessitates a lot of wasteful electronics manufacture harmful bullshit. I shouldn't say that one is bullshit, because that one is true, but it's the truth for all electronics, not just mining. And if you consider how much of the electronics being manufactured actually is related to mining in any way, shape, or form, it's a teeny, tiny, microscopic amount of the manufacturing going on out there. It's one of the reasons why it's so amazing that its effect, the effect that it's had on PC and hardware manufacturer altogether, it's amazing that it's had the effect that it has had, but it has had that effect. It's a tiny percentage of the market as a whole, but because it's directly monetized and because it directly demands efficiency, that is the bleeding edge is where people go initially, but they still roll the stuff over. Anyway. And Super Soak says, aren't people getting tired of the climate change rhetoric? Yeah, I am. Oh, and these fucking people. No. Climate change is not happening due to mining. Climate change is happening because the North Pole is migrating. And it's putting you in a different climate zone that than you were previously in, because it's changing the planet's angle of its face facing the sun. That's what's causing quote-unquote climate change. And all you fucking ninnies that want to blame it on mining, want to blame it on somebody's tailpipe, you do not understand what the fuck you're talking about. There are people out there that want to get you out of your car. They want to eliminate your ability to go from A to B whenever the fuck you want to. They want to take that away. They want to put you in a fucking bus, put you in a fucking train, put you in a car that's fucking controlled by a computer on a network, but take away your ability to control your travel. That is it. That is the whole reason for climate change rhetoric. And I fucking challenge anybody to come up with a better excuse for it. Because the truth of the matter is if we were really talking about something that would help the environment, we wouldn't even be talking about getting rid of internal combustion motors. We would be talking about abandoning oil. We would be talking about abandoning coal. But we are not. They're putting a gun to the head of everybody that has a demand for those things and saying, I want you to give up your fucking car. I want you to ride the fucking bus. I want you to ride the train. I want you to take another means of transportation that I control, not you. See, if helping the environment was a real big, priority for these people, we would be trying to transition over to biofuels. Because back in the late 1800s, there were pumping stations where you could go to get diesel that was rendered from vegetable oil, not from fucking petroleum. And there were internal combustion motors that would burn alcohol. I'd argue that's why NASCAR still exists. That's originally what they were doing, is gathering up to sell one another fuel, not shit to drink. It's another one of those fogs that have been put over the minds of people, at least here in the United States. The oil men didn't just get a hold of our economy overnight. They've been a hold of our economy since, I want to say, the late 1800s. Since the birth of the consumer internal combustion motor, the car, that motivated the need for fuel. But they figured out by the 20s that people out in the boonies were fueling their vehicles with alcohol. And they said, we gotta put a fucking stop to that shit. That's cutting into the demand for oil. And we need a justification for going all around the world and get, that it's one of the reasons why they love war so much is kickbacks. And so if you need oil and your entire economy runs on oil, you've got plenty of justification that you can wave in people's face for traveling 8,000 miles and starting a war with people to steal their fucking oil. Because if you don't, millions of people are going to fucking die, literally. But the thing is that arrangement, that equation, that mutually assured destruction equation doesn't need to exist. It's imposed on us because we're constricted to fuel sources that are geographically limited. Alcohol is not geographically limited. If you have a still, you can make alcohol. And believe it or not, you can fuel an internal combustion motor on alcohol. And it is with that I'd like to bring this episode to a close. Thank you very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. We will be back again on Monday, and hopefully we'll be back to Jiu-Jitsu too, at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want y'all to trade safe, do your homework, and watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And as far as our last dance is concerned, I hadn't picked one out, but I've got one right here, and it fits just perfectly within the limited time we have available left. And so here it is, Voivod, Orb Confusion, Last Dance, here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and y'all have an excellent weekend. Good night.